right. Well, good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Who do we have here with us this morning?
Are we looking at me?
Well, you know what? How
We're
this?
looking at you,
I'll,
Faye.
I'll set it off. I'm Morgan.
I'm Lori Swanson.
And I am Faye Hill of Faye Hill and Associates. I am a business owner. I am a published author and a social media strategist.
Thank you. I should probably start off this. We should start off this podcast just kind of explaining the purpose of it. Lori and I work for a roofing company based out of Auburn, Washington, and we've developed a passion for women in the in industries, in specifically male-dominated industries. And we have this wonderful relationship with Miss Faye. And she was in town. She actually lives in Dallas, Texas. And we wanted to take an opportunity to sit down with her and talk to her about her experience in her career field. And she's lived such a colorful and varied life. And we're excited to have you here
Is
this
there
morning.
anything that she hasn't done, actually?
Yeah.
There's a lot I still have left to do.
I believe
No,
that for
seriously. It's just an honor. It is an honor and a privilege to be with both of you. I feel like we're friends and family and coworkers, and
Yeah.
even though you are kind of my employers, I still feel like I'm a part of the crew. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
You.
sure. Thank you for being here. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
So Faye, you said you're a social media strategist.
I am.
And give us some of your backstory. How did you get here?
To doing social media.
Well, tell us a little bit about your backstory and what did you want to be when you grew up? How did you get started?
So, both of my parents were entrepreneurs. My mother owned a beauty salon. My father owned a painting contracting company. So I grew up with parents in a household that I really didn't know a lot about parents going to work for a corporation. You know, they worked for themselves. And so that was the mentality that we had in our home. You know, you work for yourself. So my mother, when she decided to retire, I was in college and she wanted me to take over her beauty salon, she wanted to hand the business over to me. She saw something in me as far as personality wise to be able to work with the public. And I loved hair and grew up doing it and helping her in the beauty salon. So she said, I want to give the business to you. So I left college, went to beauty school, to cosmetology school.
Fun.
And in Washington, I don't know if it's still this way, but it has a very high hours that you have to take. Washington and New York were the highest number of hours to take to get licensed. So I did that, got licensed, and moved back to the city that my mom was in, here in Yakima, Washington, and took over the beauty salon. And I was young. Okay, so I was young and I was making a lot of money.
It's the dream.
It's the
Yeah.
dream. So just being real, though, you're not mature enough to understand what was given to me. It was a gift, and it was a gift on a silver platter. And my mom had, built this business for 30, 40 years.
Wow.
So it was the only African-American beauty salon in Yakima. So I had a gold mine, literally. And I had so much money, I was flying back and forth to Dallas to visit my sisters all the time, right? Back and forth, back and forth. And then I decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to move to Dallas. Get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah. And my mom was like, what does that mean? Are you serious? Yeah, I think I want to move to Dallas. So that's what I did. Yeah, I did.
So what did you do when you moved to Dallas?
When I moved to Dallas, I had a friend that owned a travel agency, and she was friends with the VP of American Airlines, which was based out of Dallas, and his name was Rhett McKenzie, and I'll never forget this. And she said, I can get you a job working for American. So I didn't want to start all over because I was a hairstylist, so I'd have to build my clientele and go through that again. So when I came, true story, I was sitting in the lobby, and HR was interviewing somebody else, and they were saying, your starting salary is going to be $5.66 an hour.
Wow.
And I'm sitting out here going, wow, how's the person going to make it on that? And I'm coming from ownership, right? So when I go in to sign all the papers, I was already hired. I said, now what is my salary going to be? And she said, $5.66 an hour. I was like, oh, wow, I can't work for that. So literally, I had to just totally walk away from it, thinking, there's no way. I can't work for that amount.
Were you supporting just yourself?
I had a daughter, and
Okay.
I had a husband that had a great job in Washington. And I said, we're moving to town.
So you were going to be you were the initial breadwinner.
Yeah.
I was. I
Okay.
was.
Okay.
And I ended up going to work for an insurance company. My skill level was way higher than a customer service person. So I only did that for 3 months, and they promoted me to a claims adjuster, which I had never, it was totally brand new. So insurance, know nothing about it, just grace of God, received a position, a promotion in 3 months, and stayed in that field for 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And took advantage of that because I'm a real free spirit. So I lived in Dallas and Los Angeles and Atlanta and back to Dallas and then Miami and then back to Dallas. And my company I've never paid to move anywhere. So I was real blessed, and just to see different cities, live in different places. And back to your original question, when I grew up not with the mentality I'm going to be a business owner necessarily, but with the mentality that I'm very bright. In my book that was just published, just came out, it's on Amazon, and it came out about 2 months ago. And it's a book to help churches raise funds without asking members to give money.
What is the name of your book?
How do you do that? It's called Master the Art of Giving. It's a guide for church projects, raising funding for church projects without asking your members to give more money, which is a age-old issue in the church. So how do you do that? You redirect what you're already spending money on to something else for the church, like your Starbucks coffee or your manicure or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a book put together for that. But in the book, I talk about when I was a junior in high school. I was entered it was a contest for an American Heritage Tour. They were going to choose one female and one male and an alternate for each one to go to the East Coast. And I lived here in Washington, so that was a real big deal, for 3 weeks and do a tour of the East Coast. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because, and the reason I use it in the book is because there was something in me that I always believed in myself enough to where I thought, I'm going to enter this contest and I'm going to win. Out of 150 kids, I'll be the one chosen to do this trip. It wasn't even like I was nervous or and you had to do an essay, you had to get in front of a panel and be interviewed. Your grade, your GPA, of course, played into it. And I did. I won the girl. I was
Wow.
right. So I went on this trip. So I say that to say, in high school even, my mentality was, I'm a success, period.
Do you think that mentality has aided you in your career thus far?
Absolutely. And the reason I say that is this. It's a great thing to want to work for yourself and be self-employed and be an entrepreneur, and that's a great dream. But the reality is very few people can be successful at it because it not only takes determination and drive, but it takes passion. If you're missing the passion piece, your success is going to be slow or not at all. Because what will happen is you'll give up. Now let's turn a corner and talk about women in the male-dominated industry.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second, because it plays in together.
Yeah.
So you're a woman in a male-dominated industry, which only 6.6% of women are in male-dominated industries, right? So what are your challenges? What are the things that you step right into immediately? First thing off the bat is stereotyping.
Yep.
You're
It's so
stereotyped.
true.
Are you stereotyped?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And you know, Lori.
Yeah, I
you
know. And
yeah,
it's so
firsthand.
interesting that that's still 6.6%. Here we are, 2019, And that's still the
Women make up over 50% of the population.
Exactly.
That's what's crazy.
So why in the world? Well, here's the thing. So you have the challenges. You go into the industry, and you're stereotyped. Here's a big challenge. Men want to see you as caretaking mama or housekeeper, office housekeeper. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep. Office manager, HR.
They've already pigeonholed you into
Yes.
the stereotype of what a woman should do in a male-dominated industry, right?
Yes.
So you go into it and you've got these challenges and you've got things that are popping at you. I'm going to tell you the big one, sexual harassment. 65% of women in male-dominated industries are at some point sexually harassed.
Did you experience this at all?
I have, in a huge way. And what happened was there was a vice president of the company that I was working for, and this was in the insurance industry, which wasn't so much male dominated. However, in the higher positions, they were all male.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to
C-suite.
say the C-suite arena, it's still
Absolutely.
very limited to the
So
female.
you're a VP, males have a certain image, a certain, and you feel like I can say, do whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
they
work
seem
for
like
me.
invincible, like
Yeah.
untouchable, I guess is
Yes,
a better,
yeah.
better.
But personality-wise, I'm very, I'm not a confrontational type person. So I'm an easy mark for for a man with that mentality.
Yeah.
So what happened was, the man was in Miami. I'm at the time, lived in Dallas. And he would fly back and forth because he was over our region and come and see my boss, my manager. And this was the blessing for me. I shared what was going on with my manager,
You were transparent with the
with
situation.
the manager.
And was your manager a female or a male?
Was a male.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So watch this, as the whole thing, how it went. My manager, the male, told another female manager in California, this is what's going on with this higher up and my employee. Now, it had been going on and on and on and on, and verbally, right? I chose to transfer to Miami, to the home office, and he set up that 4-day, wine and dine to show you everything, and he was kind of like the,
The liaison.
yes. So when I get to Miami, he's the one that kind of takes me around and blah, 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 whatever. And at the end of the day, it was a very bad experience, very, very horrible experience. So I shared it with my manager, who shared it with a female. The female reported it to HR.
What was done?
When I get to Miami and transfer, they call me in the HR office. I have no idea of any of this, that they were aware of what's going on. They call me in the HR office. They interview me with a panel of people over every single thing that happened. I tell them everything that happened. I was really honest about the whole situation, didn't hold anything back. And the same day, the gentleman was escorted out and fired.
Wow.
He had been there forever, and he was a high up person, very high up person. Huge insurance company.
That's wonderful.
Honestly, it's so wonderful to hear. And that was how long ago? Way
That-
before Me Too or any
Yeah.
of that
Oh
movement.
yeah, way years ago. But here was the kickback, the bad part for me. I'm a brand new person, transferred from Dallas to Miami. No one knows me, not one soul.
Yeah.
As soon as I get there, this incident happens, and they loved this guy. So what happened was I became the, no pun intended, the black sheep.
Yeah.
Nobody would talk to me. People were hands off. They were very unfriendly. You got him fired, because the buzz was the whole company knew at that point what was going on. And it was like, you're the bad person that got him fired. Now, when people began to know me, all of a sudden that diminished. It went
Yeah.
away. But only, it took a long time. And I stayed there for quite a while, for many years, but only 6 years. But only after they began to know who I really was. And I was able to even tell my story. And the other thing was, I didn't report him. it didn't come from me.
Right.
It came from a manager.
Your managers did their job.
Yeah, they
They did their job.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's a tremendous amount of adversity to face and get through and persevere. So that's
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. So,
Wow.
but 65% of women in male-dominated industries have an experience. It doesn't have to be to that extent that my experience was, but something with a sexual tone.
Undertone. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So that's another one of the challenges that women face, in trying to work through it. So how do they cope with it? How do you cope with all of the rocks that are being thrown at you during your time of working and that, you walk in already, you're
Yeah.
notched down
Yeah.
from day one.
Yeah.
And then you're experiencing all of these things happening and people are asking you to make the coffee and so some things that women do aren't necessarily the right thing to do. They want to be like one of the boys, right?
Yeah.
So that's a negative.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they're not accepting me as a woman, so let me just be one of the guys.
How did you assert yourself without jeopardizing your values and not making any enemies while still continuing to grow professionally?
Here's the blessing about me that is fairly unique. My personality is
It's like honey.
I know.
Just like honey.
You just can't.
You can't not.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift. I shared with Morgan what my mother passed away when I was 9 years old. Now, the mother I talk about with the beauty salon is my stepmother who raised me from 11. So my birth mother passed away from breast cancer. This is Breast Cancer Month, and I usually try to do something just in her honor because she was very young. She was 37 years old when she passed away, and I was 9, and I was the oldest of 3 little girls left with my dad, who owned a painting company.
Yeah.
And what's he going to do with 3 little girls now? And he owns a business. So my mother was getting ready to pass away, and she knew that she was, not doing well. She called each of us into her bedside one by one and gave us each a gift. And my gift was a watch in a box, and the lid was the old-fashioned type, you open up the lid.
Right.
And she wrote inside the lid, "Faye, stay as kind as you are today, and people will always love you."
What prophetic words.
I know.
For a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm like, kind. I didn't really even understand what I had or who I was, but my whole life I have had a gift of caring for people. So my mother passes away and I'm the oldest, so I take on the responsibility of being nurturing and mothering my 2 sisters, right? Who don't have a mom now either. So I grew up really fast. I didn't really have a childhood. So my mentality, my thinking, and the way that I maneuver through situations, I take it for face value for exactly what it is. I don't try to put more on it than's there. And being a woman in an industry that might have, for instance, social media, when I got into it, not only were there not many women, but there were 0 African American women. 0.
I wonder why.
Why
you
is
ever-
that?
why is that?
I'd be like at a conference or something, looking around the room going, "You got to be kidding me." But I fell into it. I didn't choose to be a social media person. There's a company called National Seminars Group that I was a facilitator for in customer service. Faye Hill and Associates is a customer service training business. That's what I started it to do, to train churches, right? So when I had a video of myself in a training video that somebody saw and said, "You need to be a facilitator for National," send them the video. And I did, and went through all this whole process, and they hired me as a customer service trainer. Along comes social media. They needed a Facebook for Dummies trainer. And they said, would you be interested in doing our Facebook class? In my mind,
this
I'm
story.
thinking, oh, what's the Facebook?
I've done way more than
Right.
that. Like this is gonna be easy.
Piece of cake. And I'm thinking Facebook the way most people think of it, as for your personal. I don't know anything about business Facebook. So I'm like, yeah, I can do that. You know, I follow my son on Facebook, so I know a little bit about it, right?
Yeah.
They hired me. I went through training. I became certified, blah, blah, blah. I go out on my very first swing for 5 cities. Grand Rapids, Michigan was my first city. Knew nothing. And people were paying $250 a day for me to train, an 8-hour course. They want something. They want to leave with something. So I go in and my first class, my projector goes out. And no, it was, the evaluations that I got were, I think they were all ones. I think. Some of them might have even been 0.
Oh my gosh.
And people were writing horrible comments, waste of money, we want my money back. This has been, no, it was horrible. So I, get in the car to go to the next city. And I pulled over to the side just sobbing, called my son. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. The projector's gone out. I don't think I'm supposed to do this. I don't know anything about social media, literally.
Yeah.
So what happens is because I believe in myself, now this is true, the rest of that week, this was on a Monday, the rest of that week, got on social media, on the internet, called people, stayed up most of the night, would sleep maybe 2 or 3 hours a night, and created my own class. So you don't know about the subject. What you've got to do is learn what you can, but in the meantime, fill in the blanks with things that are going to hold the attention, the engagement of the people in the room. So there's 50 people in the room. They're there to learn about social media. You might not know. You better find out who does know. Because what you're going to do on the break is make a phone call and say, hey, I've got this question, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, by the end of my time with National, which was a couple of years, I did it maybe close to 100 cities. All they could say is, we want you as a keynote speaker. She's a guru. They would introduce me and say, I would get up in front of the class to start the class and say, what I will tell you is this. I'm positive that nobody will leave the class today without learning something they didn't know when they came in. Now, how can I say that? I don't know anybody in the room. I don't know you. Don't know what you do. One time, a whole table was a social media department from a large company.
Wow.
I said, and all you guys at the table, somebody's going to learn. And the manager was there too. And he came up to me afterwards at the end of the class and said, when you said that, we all looked at each other and laughed, Who she thinks she is? It's
Yeah.
real funny.
Yeah.
Right? He said, let me just shake your hand and tell you, we all learned something from you today. Because people think they know what social media is. They think they know what to do, how it's going to work. It's ever changing every single day. And if you can't stay on top of what works, what doesn't, what we need to do, the whole point is to get people to buy into your company through these platforms. If you can't get them to do that, you're lost,
Yeah.
Now, how do you do that? So things that I would tell them, they would be like, wow, I didn't know that. Tools or things they could use, or, and if I didn't know the answer, I promise you on a break, I was going to get the answer, and I would.
So you became your own subject matter expert.
I did.
Okay.
And how could I do that? Is because I had a immediate passion for social media.
Why?
Because I could see what progress, first of all, I could see in me, this is why I did customer service. Excellence is not even optional to me.
It just is.
It is.
It is,
And it's
definitely
not,
you.
and with any business, anything that you're doing, anything that you're pouring yourself into, if you don't have a standard that needs to be set above everybody else, then you need to sit down.
Gosh, that's good.
I know.
I've got goosebumps. We got to write that down.
I know.
No,
seriously,
but it's
that is-
true. It's true, you
It
guys.
is true. I mean, you
I
you
mean
live
that.
it. We see
I
it.
live it. Excellence matters. Excellence matters.
I'm just going to write it down.
No,
Yeah,
so
I think
true.
we should.
And once you've put yourself in that category of I've
new
got to do
tattoo.
New tattoo.
whatever.
You know what? When we're done here, let's just head over to the
Yeah,
tattoo
just
parlor.
go right on over there.
We don't want to
Get it
forget
done.
that, so we should definitely head to the tattoo parlor.
Absolutely. And I do have two, by the way, that nobody would believe in a million years.
Oh,
Not
I'm
Miss
shocked.
Faye.
No.
Yeah, I do.
Well, there's room for one more.
There's room for one more. Yeah.
Okay, guess
So-
we're going to the tattoo parlor.
It's just one of those things that you have to do for yourself. And the saddest thing in the world is to go to work every day and hate it. You get up in the morning and go, oh, I don't want to go to work today. Geez, I don't feel like doing it. And maybe it's not initially, but when that
You hit that-
excitement
yeah.
wears off, then it's mundane, it's routine. You're doing the same old thing. You really don't want to do it, but you need to make a living. You need to,
Yeah.
Do you
If
think
I was
that's
like
up to
that,
the person? Sorry to interrupt.
It
but I'm
is.
just like, it's like I'm hearing you tell this amazing story and all about your journey, and I'm like, there's few people that just really take responsibility and ownership for their own passion.
But that's true, Lori. That's true. But I believe that everybody has something that they're passionate about. So if you're not in the right and you're not feeling that, then you need to decide, what is it? You know, the whole purpose-driven life thing, right? We all have a purpose, and it's driven by what? I believe it's driven by that internal passion. We're born with gifts, all of us. And there's some way that we need to be utilizing it to where we can look back and say, wow, I feel great about what I do.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
And if I make a mistake, I'm like, I can't sleep. Yeah, it's not good for me at all, you know?
I can relate.
Yeah, it's like you because you take it serious.
Yeah.
And you want it to be excellent. You want it to be good. And that's how I could train churches, in customer service. Of all places, should people be treated any kind of way inside a church? That's terrible. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself to start my own company and develop my own training. Who does that?
Yeah.
Just because I saw a need. Not because I was trying to make money. Did I make money? I did. Because nobody else was doing it. But my purpose for that was there's a missing link here.
You bring up an interesting point. You said you saw a need. And I kind of wonder, are women, to kind of bring it back to women in male industries, are women entering into these industries because they see a need or they see that a key piece is missing somewhere?
Or that they have something to bring
Something-
to the table that's different.
Yes.
Seems like.
So this is true. I read this somewhere statistically. Males enter into an industry for the money. Females, at a higher rate, enter into the industry for what they can do.
I would agree.
So
I think that's
where
really
we
true.
want, to make a difference, we want to, it's our nurturing spirit to want to make a difference in whatever the industry is. I'm going to be the first, whatever. Or I'm going to, there's not many people doing what I do. This is this is a statistic as well. In Silicon Valley, in the tech industry, in the different companies, only 1% of all the employees are African American females. 1%. Wow. Silicon Valley. Really?
Wow.
Think of how many tech companies there are and how many employees there are.
Millions of people they employ.
That's today. That's not years ago. I'm giving you something right now. That's amazing to me. So, and why is that? And what can we do? What can we do? Mentoring is so huge, you guys.
So glad you're touching on that. Yeah.
Mentoring is huge.
Well, that's
Now,
part
not
of the hope
just
for the Women Camp podcast.
yes,
And
we need to mentor.
Yeah.
Let's take somebody in under our,
Under our
and
wing.
yeah. But more than that, we need to be mentored as well.
Did you have a female mentor that you looked up to? I mean, apart from your mothers, did you have a woman that kind of took you under her wing?
I didn't coming through, but I made it a point to find somebody that knew more than me. So where I didn't I didn't just gravitate to somebody that showed me the way. But when I realized the importance of mentoring, I actually sought out someone that knew more than I. You know how they say, you're as good as the people you surround yourself with?
Oh, yeah.
Lori says that all the
Yeah.
time.
But it's so true.
Yeah.
Lori had the common sense and good sense to bring in Morgan, you know? No.
But then we brought in other people. Right. She realized I didn't know that much.
Actually, I had the good sense to bring in people like you that knew a lot more
Yeah.
than me.
Well, and what I just tried to, and really the other good thing is, whatever you know, share the knowledge.
Share the wealth.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge
So
is
true.
power. Knowledge is power. So whatever it is that I know, I'm always willing to just let why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this, Lori. If we do this. Now, we can't just post about this, and this.
Yeah.
We've got to do this because that's going to make a difference when it comes down to our numbers in this. So don't just do it. Explain why you're doing it. Help somebody understand, when we mentor to other people, think about what you want given to you when somebody's mentoring you.
Well, it's a classic adage: do unto others
Yes.
as you would have them do unto
Do
you.
unto others.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so huge.
So I kind of want to come back to now, your experience right now as a social media strategist. How would you encourage the younger generations that are entering into this industry? Would you encourage them to go along this career path? Would you do anything different?
I wouldn't do anything different because I have been so tremendously blessed in the different things that I have just fallen into my lap. I take zero credit for it. It's not like my favorite thing to say is that the picture is already painted. It's done. The canvas is already painted. We're just stepping into it, into that area, that space that's been left for us, for the journey that we're going to take to complete the picture. Is it ever completed? I don't think so. Would I do it totally different? I wouldn't do it any different at all. I have been so blessed in the people that I've met, in the journey that I've had, in the different cities that I've lived in the companies and that I have started, that I have what I've brought to the table for other people. I sleep very well at night because I know that I've given my best. I'm not half doing it. I'm not trying to, skid by and this is the other thing. I'm not trying to make a whole lot of money. Now, this sounds very strange to say, but it's the truth. I'm not in anything that I've done so far to become wealthy. I don't have the desire to be a multimillionaire and just have everything brought to me and own everything that I've always dreamed that I would have. But what I do believe is this. If your approach is in the right way, that's going to be the benefit. You may not end up a millionaire, but you might. So how much have you given for the right purpose, for the benefit of others that will be given back to you? So at the end of the day, it's all about do the right thing and the right thing will be done back to you. If that's becoming a millionaire, that could happen. But don't make that your goal.
Your only focus, yeah.
Because then you're chasing the money, you're frustrated because you're not getting where you want to get and you're wondering, what am I doing wrong? And your whole focus is on that. And all of this stuff is passing you by. All the stuff that you could be contributing.
And I just see people chasing money, and it's like, when is
So
there enough?
sad.
When is there
There's
enough?
always
When is there
more.
enough?
Yeah, and along the way, your heart and everything else empties.
And then you look back and it's like your life is, oh wow, I've been doing this for all these years. And I literally know, I do know people like that, that have been chasing it, haven't gotten it. And, 15, 20 years have passed by. And at the end of the day, so what have you accomplished in all those years? For yourself even. What have you done for yourself?
That's a great thought. I mean, the focus is women in industry, but at the end of the day, that's not the most important thing. Your job is not the most important thing. It's about what you gave.
And what you do with how you handle what you've been given. So you're in an industry that's male dominated. You have challenges. You have, and a lot of people just end up leaving because you're frustrated, and you're like, well, I'm not anybody's mom, or I'm not a housekeeper. I don't need to be getting the coffee.
I'm tired of emptying the
Hey,
dishwasher.
you're talking about me right now? No, I've had those days.
But
I'm not
you
gonna
didn't
lie.
leave.
No,
You
I didn't.
leave.
No.
And see, that's the difference. That's the difference.
Well, and now you're the president of a roofing company.
There you go.
Well, and I mean, every day that I get up, I mean, that's the beauty of it, is that I take it, it's not really about me at this stage, you know,
Right.
it's about the team and
Right.
and what I bring to them each day, because they're out there, they're really the ones getting it done. But
Right.
it's sometimes there are days though.
There
where
are
you-
days, and we're going to all have days. That's
Yeah.
just part of life, you know. But what do we do with those days, and how do we go to the next day, and how do we look back and say, wow, you know, yesterday's gone.
Yeah, a lot of
Today.
prayers, and then a lot of podcasts that you can listen to.
Yes.
Uplifting podcast.
Yeah.
Uplifting, motivational podcasts that give somebody that may not have even thought about something. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right, and there's so many special takeaways in just what you've already said today.
Yeah.
They could get someone
So here's
through
what
the
I'm
day.
going to do. I'm
Yeah.
going to leave you with 5 things that I just kind of jotted down to think about for everybody, for moving forward. So, earn your seat at the table. What does that mean? How do you earn your seat? You know, people are looking to see what you bring to the table. And if you don't think you're bringing anything, then find another table where you can bring something,
You
because
have to have that confidence that
You've
you've
got
had,
to.
That
You've
it's
got
so
to.
amazing that, you know, they talk about children who in kindergarten they raise their hand, yeah, I can run a marathon, and then by the time they graduate, they're like, no, you know, just holding that true to yourself all these throughout your entire career is just so
and it's
inspirational
not
to me.
and it's not like it's easy. I'm surely not saying it's been a bed of roses. It hasn't. Many times, many tears, many, you know, heartbreaks, many things have happened in my life that I would not change, because those are the things that make you who you are. You can't become anything here without the experiences of the stepping stones to get there. You just can't. It'd be nice to just jump it, you know, but you can't. You've got to take those steps, and they're not easy, and they're hard, and they're heartbreaking, and you know, and a lot of people would say I would never go through that again, but I'm not one of them. I would gladly go through it all over again just to get to where I am today, because I think that my strength, the inner strength that I have, comes from the experiences that I've lived.
I think that's
So-
so important, that earn your seat at the table, though, because I love the very first word, earn it.
Earn it.
You have to earn it. It's going to be hard work.
It's
gonna be
always,
easy.
Yeah.
it's always, nothing is just handed to
you.
you.
You can't just pull up a seat.
No. Your mom doesn't just give you a beauty salon and, you know.
Or a roofing company.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't my mom,
Yeah, and you didn't walk away from it, you know, but who does that? You know, so the second one is believe in your ability to succeed. I believe in me. I do. And I make a lot of mistakes, and I do things that, you know, might not be perfect, but I believe, and part of believing in myself is because other people have said, you really, you know, and the more people tell you the stuff that you do, the more you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I do a pretty good job. If I didn't believe in myself, in what I'm doing today, then I would need to try to find something else where I could believe in myself.
I think that's great. As a younger woman, I think a lot of young women struggle with self-doubt. And I think
Absolutely.
if we can
Always.
remember, if we just if the first thing that we think about in the morning is I can do this.
Yes.
I can tackle this day.
And you know what? Everybody doesn't believe in affirmations, but I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah,
you
so-
say those things to yourself in the morning, there's
Yeah.
a reason. And I taught this in my class for social media. I would say, put quotes on the page in the morning. put motivational quotes to your customers, your clients. And why is that? Because everybody needs that boost in the morning, you know, that cup of coffee, that
Yeah.
something that gets you going.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at, you know, whoever's business page, and, you know, if I look at that page in the morning, I'm going to get something that's going to keep me excited about moving, about going. And then all of a sudden they feel like that's my friend. That business is my friend, and they gave me a word this morning that kept me motivated. So when I'm ready to buy, I'm going to buy from them because I know them and they care about me. Look at the great stuff that they put on their page. They're not beating me over the head to buy their product.
Yeah.
They're giving me something of value.
Yeah.
So stamp out sexism. Sexism is it can put us in the ground, and we don't even know it's happening because we're very accustomed to it, because we've lived it our whole lives. At the end of the day, we don't even know it. We're so
Indoctrinated.
yes,
I think we even do it self-inflicted a little bit.
Yes.
Just because-
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you. And how can we change that? You know, first of all, be aware. No. You know, don't just kind of mosey along every day doing your same old mundane, you know, and when you stop and you're aware of it, then, you know, nothing changes if nothing changes. It's one of those things that you have to be consciously, you know, aware of and making a change. You know, I'm not going to be looked at, you know,
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
woman who, you know, I'm not equal. Like what you can do, I can do better. I'm just saying, isn't that a
Drop the
song or
mic.
something?
We can end right there.
Yeah.
Do we have any music? Isn't that song can play in the
Yeah.
background? And knowledge is power.
Yep.
So the more you know, the better you become.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power. And knowledge is power in any industry and anything that we do. Learn all you can learn. Know all, take classes. Y'all take classes, take classes. Become, you start thinking about what you want to do. And it's like, how am I going to get there? It's a goal.
Yeah.
And find a network of support. Find people that can support you in your classes. LinkedIn is a great place to join groups. LinkedIn has a group for everything you can possibly think of. And when you start chiming in and chatting in those groups, all of a sudden your name becomes visible. And people recognize, oh, yeah, that's Lori.
Yeah.
Lori always has something great to say, Well, who is Lori? Well, let me check out who Lori is. Oh, Lori she's a president of, wow. I'm telling you, social media is our avenue to recognition, to knowledge, to, where it started out to be a kids' party. Back in the day, that was what, MySpace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little,
Yeah.
I didn't have that.
I wasn't allowed to have a MySpace.
You couldn't have it. But, and then it fell, right? And people were like, how long comes Facebook? It's going to, when I started training, they would drag their people in, their managers or whatever, and they'd be sitting there all upset. They don't want to be there. But the people made them come, and they paid for it, for all of their people to come, and they'd be like, this is nonsense. It's going away. By the time I finished that class, all of a sudden, the hands come down. They're not crossing their arms, and they're kind of thinking, wow, maybe she's got something here. Maybe we need to put more thought into what are we going to do. And I would always say, you can't just take a person inside your office and throw that on their plate. They're already overwhelmed. Now you're going to tell them you need to post twice a day and find content to post and put it on our, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. Then they're mad because they don't want to be there learning how to do something that they don't have time to do. So it's a vicious cycle. The owner thinks that, I don't really want to put the money out there for budgeting for a separate person, so I'm going to take you and you take this much of your day and add in social media. I'm going to take you to a class, you're going to learn all you can learn, and then you're going to, so that was a challenge for me because a lot of people did not want to be there. you know, and then I would say to them, well, let's say this, you don't have the time, you know, do what you can do, and then show your manager, your owner, whoever, your boss, that they need to budget for social media. It's just not going away. It's not. And at the end of the day, it's well worth whatever small amount of money that you have to put into that. It's nothing compared to traditional advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. It's small. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Do we have a fifth?
That was the fifth, was find a support network.
Find a
Oh,
support
okay,
network.
Support network.
Yes.
It's so true.
This was wonderful. Thank
It
you.
was.
Thank you, Faye.
I love you
Thank
guys.
you so
I
much.
love you too.
Yeah, I'm
love
so
you.
glad to share anything, anytime. And at the end of the day, and I would always do this, and you know, National would say, don't ever give out your personal information, ever. At the end of every single class, I'd say, here's my cell phone number, here's my email address. Anything I can do to help you, reach out to me. I promise you, I'll get you the answer. If I don't know it, I'll get it for you. And that's going an extra mile. I'm not getting anything out of it. You know, I'm just trying to help people understand what it is that they're trying to do. I don't want you to waste your money. It's not my money. It's National Seminar's money, you know, but at the end of the day, I want you to have my personal information. So, you know, if I can help you, you know, just let me know and I'll try to find the answer for you. And that's probably why I'm a 24/7 person. That's probably why I don't have hours. And that's probably why people can call me at 6 in the morning or 10 at night. And I'm going to do whatever I can do to make sure that they're getting whatever it is that they need. And that's passion.
Well, thank you, Faye, for
You're welcome.
speaking
Yeah,
with
thank
us
you
this
again.
morning. We really appreciate your time, and
No, of
we've
course.
just so enjoyed having you
So
with us.
inspirational.
We've got to do this more often.
We do
Yes,
this more often.
yes.
I'll fly to Seattle more often.
And I just like to share, if anyone is interested in learning more about Faye and her story. Faye, what is your website address?
It is faye-hill.com is my website. My email is faye@faye-hill.com. And the same thing goes for anybody that's listening. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. You know, I have my own little chat room going on. So whatever you need.
Yeah. So if you feel like you need help and you need an excellent social media strategist, Faye's just giving you her information. And we just like to thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. And we're excited to see where the Women Can podcast can go, because it can only go up from here. So thank you, ladies.
Yeah. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you, Morgan, so much.
You're welcome.